appointed by the president yet.
In the CGE.
The situation.
Can I ask something? In terms of your job speak, can you be promoted to Neliswa's post or move to? Or is that not something you want to do?
For this committee, I'm not sure because I'm also a committee secretary
For the no.
for that one. So it's one.
What
and the
way do you
same thing.
prefer? The
That side.
nobody wants to. Why does nobody like our committee? Why does nobody want to be a
The,
committee
the, the, the
secretary for
challenge,
our?
the challenge,
Why did not listen?
the challenge with
Honorable members, hello, hello, Nelisa, can we, before the IT people start their thing, because this is going to be on the parliamentary channel. So this is what I want to caution. Immediately we start, we are not going to eat. Immediately when we start, I would appreciate that there are no, it can be cold drink, but it must not be a plate of food. Because when because this room number 1 is just a room that automatically it's on the TV channel. And 2, this matter is of national interest. So we can't say to them, go away. They must be here from we start. But it appears it doesn't appear well. It appears very clumsy in the eyes of the outside. I will tell you a story. It's one of us. Some of us have been here for some time. People always say, tension in this meeting? Or is it because of this room? No, this is a, I don't want to say, okay, I don't want Honorable members, we're now going to start, it's 12:30. And I hope all of us now are settled. We are going to start. We will then, the house rules, we are all aware of. Our phones are to be on silent. Can there be order? Our phones are to be on silent. And then secondly, we will then, before I request or before that, can we get a roll call from the committee secretary who is not here? And
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members and my colleagues. Members who are here, it's Honorable Dunja, Khotana, Peterson, Spies, Van der Merwe, Kaula, Mchunu, Chauke Adonis, Gasa. We're still waiting for Honorable Shabangu and Honorable Kanyile. And I've received two apologies, one from Honorable Adams, who's not attending due to by-elections in her area, and Dr. Litlape, who's not feeling well. Chairperson, thank you.
thank you very much. Just to recap, so that all of us are of the understanding why we are here. For the benefit of those members who were not part of the last portfolio committee, which was in a hotel outside, upon receiving a briefing from the legal person from the office of the Speaker in terms of the proclamation of the acts, the gazette, it to be gazetted, because if then that hasn't happened yet at that time, we were then not going to be able to, in fact, not that we couldn't start, but the challenge was that we will then start and halfway the line, President proclaim, and what does that mean to the process that we've started? Because the new act has got specific chapters on what is to be done. But just to remind members that it's their first term, that this process in the act that was the principal act that was amended was that it is to be done by by Parliament, and if it's then Parliament, it means both houses. And the last term, the committee amended that, and it's then a full domain of the National Assembly. So when you talk about Parliament, you talk about both houses. You don't talk about one house. So it's then the domain of the National Assembly. It had a number of issues. Then the issue of age, which the previous one. I'm just reminding you because you got both the principal and the amended act. It was open-ended in terms of the previous act. And then the committee felt that for us to be able to protect the integrity of Parliament, in fact, to protect the integrity of the committee and that of Parliament, is that we must tread carefully, so that we are then not, when we're in the middle of the process, we again had to come back after we've advertised and it will be opening up ourselves up for a litany of litigations. And then I was then mandated by the committee that I will have to try and communicate with the powers to be in checking how far is the process, but also try to lobby that if then that proclamation can then be signed. It has been signed. The content advisor is then going to take us through when it has been signed, and I think members has been sent that, am I correct? Members were sent that information. So that's why we are here. Let me then apologize. I know that we are all in our constituency period, but we are allowed on matters of national interest and which are urgent, that we can hold our portfolio committee even during that time. But the office of the chair is to apply for that, should I say, that special sitting. And we were then granted that. So thank you very much for agreeing to be here. The reason that it couldn't be virtual, because we should have applied for a virtual sitting, is because virtual has got its own problem of network, problem of this, and I thought that it would be correct that we all, eyeball to eyeball, be taken through this process, so that when we're in the middle, I don't want us when we're in the middle of this and don't just say, no, I didn't hear that thing which it's being said, because I was cut off by network. So that is why then we have then requested this special sitting. It is only for today, so that the content advisor take us through blow by blow. For those that are in this committee for the second time and who are returning members, and in the room, it's 3 of us, including the committee staff, we know the challenges that were encountered in the last term around this issue of NYDA. And as the chair, I wouldn't like us to be faced with that. Not that we can't be faced with any problems, not that we can be taken to court, but it must be things that are beyond our control. Those that the office of the chair can avoid, incorporate with members agreeing on that. Let's try our level best that we avoid the situations that at least we could have a. I don't like to explain myself for something that it's clear. If it's white, it's white. It must continue being white. I can't then say, oh, I thought it was gray. So I want you to, and again, my apologies for missing your constituents. Starting from myself, my constituency work has been messed up. But this is just one of those things that are important, which all of us here are going to be confronted with when we are in this constituency period for 2 weeks. Secondly, which I don't want to say warn, I want to caution members. I know that we belong to different political parties. Our parties have got different views. We are here, we're a committee. We take a decision in the committee, it is the decision of the committee. This thing that a person will say, yes, I was in that committee, but they took that decision, I didn't agree about that. They outside when you are confronted with media. Because when they see you as a member of the Patriotic Alliance that you're here, they want to interview you. We know where, as members, we stand and advance our political but reviews. But not when you are confronted by media outside the reporting. I mean, you know, when you stand there in that podium, even if you've adopted, you tell us where to land off. That's fine. It's part of the politics. But the caution is that when you are outside, when you are alone as an individual, because it then means you are binding all of us here. Honorable Makaula will then be asked, as the chair, I'll be asked, Honorable Peterson is saying this, what's your view as the chair of the committee? No. Please don't plunge me to that. But still, I'm not implying that when then the process starts, we are going to deliberate here. We're going to be on each other's throat. As long as we're not going to be hostile and arrogant to one another, we're going to pursue our views. But with an understanding that it's not only about what my party wants or what I want, it's about South African young people. That's what comes first, before everything else. So, that is why we're here. And I must not feel the tension, man. Hey, I can cut this tension in this meeting with a hot knife. So what is then going to do? Ms. Abrams is going to take us through. It's an administrative process, by the way. And not that we can't ask clarities if we want to understand something, but we're not going to be able to change anything. You only, if you want to change something, you will then, what do you call it? You will then submit a member's interest, amendment, ne? If you want to. But you will have to allow ourselves to finish this. We have started a little bit late, not because of our own making, but it doesn't mean that we are going to rush. So what I really want to put across is that it's an administrative process, it's a briefing, doesn't need a quorum. It's only that I wanted everybody. The meetings that really need a quorum, it's when we are going to adopt a report, when we are going to vote. So those meetings need a quorum. I will also be besek if I phone the committee secretary if a particular report we are to adopt and some of you are not here. And up to an extent that we have to go to the leaders of your party to check where is your member. So those are the meetings, but meetings of this nature, even presentations by the department, they really, as much as we would love to have everybody here, because everybody must be exposed and have an understanding. But a quorum, it's when we are to adopt a report and when we are to vote on whatever, a bill and whatever. Even in the presentation of the bill, there are times that we really do need a quorum. So having said that, I welcome everybody. We have been joined by Mr. Matthews from the Office of the Speaker. Oh, Dr. Tembe. The rest you know, Dr. Tembe, you know, you saw him last time. He is in the Office of the Speaker, the legal person. Our media person has apologized, has got a family. So the gentleman will introduce himself. The rest, you know. So can we start with you? The rest I know. Can I start with you?
Okay. Good day, Chair. My name is Koko Mchunu. I'm from Umkhonto Wesizwe. I'm joining Oku Gasa and Mam Shelley. Thank you.
We call each other honorables in the committee.
Oh, sorry, Chair.
Please. Okay. Mnumzane. Ungubani.
Morning, Chair and everyone. I'm Jablani Majozi from Parliament Communication Services. standing in for my colleague. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We will then hand over to Ms. Abrams. Ms. Abrams is our content advisor. A content advisor is that person who understands the content of what we are dealing with, the content of the issues that the department is dealing with. From time to time, he has got that responsibility of advising us. But at times we'll say, but we are honorable members. But we will have to know she has got that responsibility, even if then we remind her that we are honorable members, because when things come tough, we can't then say, but why were we not advised? She's going to say, but I did advise you, and you said no, the decision, the last voice is yours. So that's why she is here on issues of this nature. Those are the people that she is the one who's advising. The rest are researchers. As you all know, what is the work of researchers. Having said that, I will hand over to you, Ms. Abrams.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good day to members and our colleagues. Just to add on what Chair is saying, the National Youth Development Agency reports to this committee. So in this portfolio, they've been coming to this committee for the past 8 years. 8 years. When it comes to appointments of board members, it draws a lot of attention. Ms. Kaula has been with us in 2 processes before around appointments. Ms. van der Merwe, I think probably 12 years ago through a board process. So we have members who've been familiar with the process. In the last round, we had over 1,000 applications. 1,000 applications from across the country of people who are interested. It draws a lot of attention, it draws lots of media interest, and members in the past who have said, you have people come to you in your constituency asking about it. So members who have received an email copy of the National Youth Development Agency Amendment Act, as well as a hard copy. So if anything, that's something you can go back to help you understand what is this NYDA board about and what is expected. Next, we're going to have Neliswa do 3 things for us. 1, go take us through the program. 2, well, there's 3. She'll know why I say 3. So the 1, the program. This doesn't finish in 2 months. It's going to take us till the end of this year, phase 1 and 2 of the process, and we will probably only land up finishing early January of next year, just because of the requirements from our side as to how long the advert should run, public participation, as well as the interviews. To reiterate what Chairperson was saying about quorum and adoption, the importance of having our members all come together and understand what we're doing is that once we start this process, technically this committee becomes the panel. Because once members agree and adopt to the program, the advert, and the online application, the next time we have a meeting would be shortlisting. And whoever of the members are there that shortlist goes into the interview process, because you form part of an interview panel. And after that, once you've done the interview panel, the members get to decide based on the CV that you looked at, which is the online application, the interview process, who you would want to recommend. So it's important that we have a core group of members who are consistently with us, because it would be difficult if one member only attends the interview but wasn't part of the beginning of this process, or starts at the beginning of the process but isn't there for the interview process. And that is why this is an opportunity for members to ask us any questions. We've got the legal advisor here as well, Dr. Tembe, to look at any legal particular matters, as well as Tasneem Matthews, the researcher. She's been with the NYDA as a researcher in Parliament for the past 13 years, so she knows the NYDA really, really well. So we work as a team. So the next 2 things, as I indicated, Nelly, so we'll talk to members about the program, indicate to you what happens on what days. Next, after that would be the draft advert. Part of the draft advert, Denise will also explain the issue of how the advert is put out and the issue of supply chain management. In other words, we don't get to choose which are the newspapers we want to select. Neliswa can explain how that happens. And then once she's done with that, I will go through the online application form and explain why we opt for an online form. I mean, one of the key things, as I've said, we will receive over 1,000 applications. Parliament has gone paperless. Most things are done online, and also to help save the committee so that no one time an applicant can say, well, I sent my forms in, but Parliament never received it. On an online application, everyone can submit, it's time recorded, it goes to a safe place, nobody tampers with the information. So that's why we've opted for an online. So the next two things now, Nelisa will take members through the draft program and then the draft advert. Thank you, Chair.
Welcome, Ms. Kanyile. It's all that I can speak closer so that you understand. We are just starting. Okay. And I would like to, the attendance register, please, it must also be circulated. Over to you, Nelisa.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to honorable members, and good afternoon. Thank you. I will share the draft program that we've done as a team so that you can see. If you look at it, and the one
Sorry, before that, I think there's one thing that I think we must make it clear, that this draft program, it's one of those unique programs that are prepared by committee section. Everything that has got to do with the law, and it is only this committee that appoints a bill. I'm correct, mostly. It's not being appointed by the ministry as in other boards, but it is then a baby of the committee. So I'm trying to circumvent a question that may say, why did you develop that program alone? It is their responsibility in terms of the rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chair. Chair, you'll see I've shared the program on the screen, Chair. We've already emailed it. We've also made copies, but the yellow part in the copies, it's dark, I think. So the reason why we also made some just a normal black and white, the others it's yellow, is to, what we did with this program is to club together the process or the program for the filling of vacancies and the normal committee meetings. Chair, I will start with the first meeting, which was on the 10th of September, which you've already indicated that we received a briefing by the legal advisor on this process. The second meeting is today, Chair, where we are going to consider and adopt this program, the draft advert and the online application. After we have done so, Chair, from 26 September up until the 10th of October, which is a period of 2 weeks, we will do the administration, as you've already indicated, which is preparation of the advert, including the translation. In terms of a translation, Chairperson, in the previous processes that we have done in the filling of vacancies, we would, members, the committee then in 6th Parliament agreed that it is in all languages. And then we also request a source of coding in terms of all the languages, in all, the papers, languages, in all South African languages. And those are the SCM processes. And thereafter we obtain approval so that we can advertise in all languages if the committee agrees, Chair. And then for 30 days, we will advertise in print media, that's calling for nomination for the filling of vacancies in the, it should be in the NYDA. NYDA. This is after we have obtained all our approvals And then the SCM will take its process to ensure that this advert is placed in all papers, in all languages, Chair. In most cases, there's only one national paper, which is in English, and the others will be regional and local, Chair, in other languages. We will also, the communication officer, she will also ensure that this advert is placed in the parliamentary website so that every board can have an access to the advert, Chair. And then I'll just skip the normal committee meetings, Chairperson, if I'm allowed.
We'll skip that.
Okay, thanks, Chair. Okay. Then, after the closing date is of the advert for members of the public to submit their application is the 12th of November. A week after, we'll have call for members will conduct their shortlisting process, and thereafter, from another 2 weeks, from 20 November to 3rd December, it will be pre-employment screening of CVs of applicants by SAP and parliamentary human resource section. And also we also place the shortlisted candidates on parliamentary website so that the public can comment on the shortlisted candidate that is done by the committee. And in terms of pre-employment screening, what we do as admin staff is to request the protection services, Parliament Protection Services, ask them to assist with this process. And what they will do, they will take all the application forms and submit it to the state security agent for further, investigation on the applicants, but also the parliamentary human resource assist in terms of verifying the qualifications of the applicants. And then we also, in same period, we also place the application form of the shortlisted candidate on parliamentary website, where we would request or we will call for members of the public to comment. And this will be done. We will ensure that the personal, in terms of the, Herman will explain, Chairperson, the POPIA Act will ensure that we don't place in parliamentary website the personal details of the candidate, but Herman can assist in this regard. This period will take us to the 3rd of December. Then after, we'll on 21st of January next year, it will be interviews, because from the 3rd to the 6th of December, it's oversight period in terms of the parliamentary program, and then thereafter it will be a constituency period and the holiday. And then we'll come back in January. That's when normally comes back at that time. We'll conduct interviews after we have received all the information, the public comments, and the information from the HR and from the SAPS or State Security Services. Then we will compile that information and give it to members before interviews. Then members will conduct interviews when they have all this information. Then the following Tuesday will be deliberation on candidates, and then we're looking at adopting the report on the 4th of February, Chair. Thank you, Chairperson.
Before we go any further, can I just check? Okay, welcome, Honorable Shabang. I don't know whether you did receive, there are papers in front of you. Are there any people who want to get any clarity? I see a hand, Honorable van der Merwe.
Good afternoon to you, Honourable Chairperson. Good afternoon to our colleagues, our support staff and observers. Chairperson, I want to thank our team for preparing this for us. My initial thoughts would only be, Chairperson, that I'm quite concerned. You spoke about this earlier, and this is the reason why we are here. This process is urgent because the board's term comes to an end in November. And if one looks at this time frame, even though the interviews are taking place in January, it means a report can only serve before the National Assembly in February. And then, when I looked at the time frames, it took the president last time to appoint the board. The National Assembly recommended names to him, 17 names to him in 2021 in September, and he appointed them 2 months later. So on this specific time frames, we might only have a board in place then in April 2025, which leaves the NYDA without a board for approximately 6 months. Considering the issues that you've highlighted in the beginning around stability at the NYDA and the crisis of youth unemployment, I was wondering, if you look at the program, and I mean, it might not be feasible, so what I'm saying is I'm just trying to see if one can work on the current time frames and then see if we can tighten it up a little bit so that we can still possibly, and it's just, I mean, I might be completely wrong, but if you end the advertising period on the 11th and you give the team 3 days up until Friday the 15th to give us the CVs, and we try and do the shortlisting on a Friday, which is Friday the 15th, it then allows us for 2 weeks to still do the public comments and you know, doing those due diligence, which is putting the advert or the names that we've shortlisted on the website. We're asking civil society to comment. But then that we reconvene 2 weeks later from the 15th of November, which takes us up to the 29th of November, or that Monday, to do the shortlisting. To do the interviews, I'm sorry. So that at least that we come back maybe on the 3rd to deliberate on the names, which is still a Tuesday, and that we try to pass the report in the NA before it goes on constituency period on the 13th of December. These timeframes might be very short, but it allows us then, you know, if we've done the work, like we said, it's a process which will, of course, draw a lot of attention. I'm just thinking that we try and utilize Fridays or Mondays as well, and then work within the timeframes. You know, of course, we can't deviate from the public comment period. We have to do due diligence, but I'm really worried if we do the interviews in January and then the first, you know, I think the first week that we might have an opportunity to table a report before Parliament will be somewhere in the middle of Feb. It's really a long time for the NYDA to be without a board. So while I appreciate the program, I was wanting to know if we can just look at tightening up some of the time frames so that we possibly leave Parliament with a report, which might not be possible, but it's just a plea. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Khwekane. Honorable Spies.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. What I want to know is that when shortlisting the people or the candidates, what criteria or what do you consider from the candidate? And number two, who are the people who are constituting the panel? Yes.
Honorable Spies.
Thank
I
you.
will respond after all the hands. Honorable Spies, then Honorable Makaul, in that order.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you so much for the presentation. Chair, I would like to just echo the sentiments of Honorable Van der Merwe, so I'm not going to repeat that. I just want to draw your attention to the 20th November to the 3rd of December. That is the pre-employment screening and also the civil society comments on shortlisted candidates. A point of clarity for me in terms of the public comments, I want to understand
when those comments are in, when we as a committee afforded the opportunity to go through it, comment on it, also obviously taking that into account in the entire process. Thank you.
Honorable Kaula?
Thank you, Chair. Nginibinga Chair and the Honorable nani nonke nikhona. Ngithi mina ngokwami ngiyavumelana Honorable Fanameva. Ngoba mawuthi uyasiyabheka la labantu baphelelwa isikhathi before this year December kanje. So mangabe manje sizodonsa kusho sizovula igebhe enkulu lapha kwiboard ekubeni siyazi lo mnyango umnyango obaluleke kangakanani. Bengithi mina ake sihlale phansi sibheke ukuthi yini esingayenza ukuthi sikwazi ukuphushela ukuthi nenyanga sezambili kuphushela ukuthi senze sure ukuthi singabi ngali ukuze leya vacancy ingasali lapha. Ibhlungu ngabe leyanto uthola ukuthi kunezikhala ezisele kanti ingenxa yokumsebenzi wethu thina singakwazanga ukubheka ukuthi akusenzeni ukuthi kukhaveke leza ikhala. Ngiyabonga.
Honorable Gasa and Honorable Kanyel. Can you please switch off your mic? Ningathunakali ne? Ningathunakali.
Thank you.
Honorable Gasa, Honorable Kanyel.
Thank you, Chairperson. I just want to find a clarity here. In terms of advertising, I just see that the advert will be placed on the print media. I just want to confirm if that is true and why only print media was chosen. Thank you.
Honorable Kanyel.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to colleagues, to the support staff, and everyone that is part of this meeting. Chairperson, I do respect all languages that are official within our country. I just have a question, though, on why do we think it's necessary to have the advert translated to all South African official languages? Number one. Number two, do we have means, considering also that this portfolio is pro persons with disabilities, that if we have individuals that maybe vision impaired, they'll be able to have access to this information? If yes, we would like to know how, so that we can also assist in our respective portfolios to spread the information. There's a document that was circulated to us. Thank you very much for the hard copies. I'm a PPT, so I still prefer hard copies. Thank you, thank you. There's a document that was circulated to us that indicates the criteria that was asked by one of the honorable members, which we truly appreciate. What I would like to find out is if this information or the website is going to be provided to us. And Chairperson, just to go back a little bit on the first question that I had on the issue of translation. When I look at the program that is given to us, the translation is going to take about 2 weeks. And Honorable van der Merwe and Honorable Spies have indicated that we are going to take a lengthy period to finalize this process. So I wanted to check if it's possible. Maybe I need to know what motivated for the translation into all official languages, number one. Number two, if it's possible to just keep the adverts in English so that we can try maybe and minimize our time. I think that will shorten our time looking at the whole SAM process that we need to undergo to finalize the translation. Thank you very much.
Can I request, because it's not, members must lift up their hand when we say times for clarity. We can't after somebody has spoken, we lift up our hand. It's going to take us back. and it also dislodges us a little bit as people that are concentrating on. Honorable Adonis, you are the last hand. For now.
Thank you so much, Chairperson, and good morning or good afternoon to fellow colleagues, honorable members, and support staff, and yourself as Chairperson. Apologies for coming in late with raising my hand. I do agree with Honorable Kanyile on understanding what is the strategy in terms of making sure that the advert and the dissemination of information is accessible for all young people in South Africa, so that we make sure that this advert reaches each and every single person. I mean, if we're speaking about translating it in the various South African languages, have we taken into consideration sign language and braille printing if we're saying it's going to be printed? Number two, what is the plan on working with organizations to disseminate this information, and whether this process will allow for organizations to make organizational submissions of the preferred candidates to be shortlisted? Lastly, and I think this was said by Comrade Spies, if I'm correct, to say that in terms of the panel, how will the panel be constituted? And I think the Chairperson, you said you would then respond to how we're going to constitute the panel that will be going through the interview process. Lastly, it's to look at ways in which this is going to be communicated beyond just the print media, and perhaps we can also be given guidance as to what would the appropriate response be and communication when we go into our constituency, seeing that we are currently in constituency period, so that we do not find ourselves giving conflicting views on this particular matter, or maybe perhaps committing the portfolio committee to something that we have not agreed on. And I think it's very important for us to sort of have a brief as to what must be communicated if we are approached by community members or any form of media houses, so that it is in line with the direction of the portfolio committee, but also through the instruction of the chairperson of the portfolio committee. Thank you, Chair.
Can I just start with the latter? As you will be in our constituents office, we're in a constituents period, and obviously everybody now is aware that we are seated here. Here is an administrative process. We are asking questions on an administrative process. So when we are out there, the question, if we are asked, I'll make an example. You chaired a meeting. What was the view of the meeting? And I'm making an example. My response was, we were briefed by the committee section on an administrative process. And that means, it means how then are we going to move forward in terms of time frames and whatever. So that's where we are. I'm making an example about myself. That's how I will respond to my constituents. Two, the other issues will be responded by the content advice. We have got 9 official languages, of which it's 10 now in terms of the deaf way, yes, sign languages. Remember in the last committee we said we must avoid opening ourselves up for litigation. And therefore, it is our responsibility that we avoid by all means to open up ourselves, to open up Parliament to ourselves on litigation, on using one official language. I think Ms. Nobatana did say that they are going to go through procurement processes. They know how is that being done by Parliament, but it has never, it can't be one official language that we are to advertise. 2, we are not in a It is a bill where public comments are requested. We'll be dealing with a bill, the committee section will put up an advert. The department, in fact, will start by putting up an advert for people to comment. The cabinet has circulated a particular bill. Comments are there either verbal or written. Then it then comes to the committee. The committee also follow its own processes through the committee section of putting up an advert for comments or individual presentations in a bill. So I hope members are going to be able to see the difference. We are now dealing with a board which is our responsibility. And this board then, how then the board is then constituted, is how it has been explained. We don't invite outside people to come and tell us whom they want to appoint. We follow those processes. It will be, I'm making an example, the 20th to the 3rd, that period we say civil society comments on shortlisted candidates. The civil society is given a space. If Lindelwa Tujwa is in the list, they say, no, we have got a problem. Lindelwa Tujwa is 50 years old. I'm making an example. So that is how this process, so we're not going to call civil society to come and say we want this one, we don't want this one. The third one is we are the panel. We are to conduct interviews, we are to shortlist. So it's our baby. We're not going to be. So that's why it was important when Ms. Abrams said, that's why it is very, very important that if you start, you don't break. We have started, all of us here. So we must start and finish. The reason is that if you start and you pull out in the middle, and at a particular time you had an interest that I wanted Fisani Shabangu, and you decided to come back, you are going to create a stumbling block for us. We wouldn't like that. So that is why, therefore, I want to make this proposal, because what Honorable Van Merwe is raising, and some of is that this time frame, I've also picked that up, but I have got a responsibility to go and talk with powers to be, because we will be, we will then be allowed to rework to fit. That is why, therefore, it is going to be important today. I'm making an example, Honorable Khokan. If you are serving in another committee, tell us now, at the end, not as we are deliberating, at the end, so that when we go and make a formal request, we know that Honorable Shabangu is on health, which sits on Wednesday. Honorable Kwekane is on defense, which sits on, because there is going to be a time. If we want to shorten this, we are going to sit and make an example from Monday to Friday. I'm just making an example to show how this thing is going to be. It's very challenging. Myself on Mondays, it's party work, but I will have to present myself and say, these Mondays until this time, I am not going to be available. So please, when we adjourn, give the Secretariat that information, so that when we then have to sit down with the office of the chair of chairs and say, here are we, we've got these members, what is it that we want to do? And also you people speak with your leaders of the party. I'm not going to go and speak to your leader on your behalf. I'm going to go to my leader. You will have to go to your leader and say, this is what, fortunately, all of them, they know this. So I just wanted to say that I have noted, and I will take that into consideration. I'll report that, but I'll be assisted by you to give us, so that as the committee section, we're then able to look into that. I think other questions that are more administrative, Ms. Abrams will then be able to look into that. Yeah. And the issue, which I think myself, I will have to also assist them, the issue of braille and other forms of, we have to check, because we know up to now, I don't think we've got any document in this parliament that is in braille for now. But we will then raise that and say, that has been raised, how long is it going to take? And we wouldn't like anything that is going to delay. But if then in the event that maybe braille, I make an example, is going to take long, what is the thing that we are going to, I want to use the correct English word, to substitute, if that is to assist those that will then need to be assisted in terms of being visually impaired. I will hand over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. With regards to shortening the program, Nelisa would be able to indicate around the 15th of November if we bring the shortlisting closer. When I take members through the online application, you'll see it won't be a physical CV that you're going to get, but the application form, I'm sure members have known that often in government you have to apply through a particular form. We've created something similar which requires all the key information that you would need. That information, ICT then converts into an Excel spreadsheet. So in other words, that can be done if it closes midnight Sunday night, by 12:30, ICT closes the site. So we can see exactly who submitted 2 minutes to 12 or 2 minutes past 12. So the moment you submit, it gets recorded. So there's nothing gets tampered with. It takes us in 3 days to go through that Excel spreadsheet, because often an applicant would submit something twice or thrice. And then we can see, but wait a minute, this ID number appears 3 times. So it's not to say that we got 1,600 applicants. There were 1,600 times people applied, but actually one person perhaps submitted 3 times. So we take the person's last applicant because they may have realized they want to add in something else. So that when you get the final Excel spreadsheet, we show you members, we'll give an example later on for the CGE so that you can see what it looks like. So it would be one spreadsheet, 1,000 names, hypothetically, you see exactly who applied when, and all the information that we asked for in the application form is in that Excel spreadsheet. That's the first thing. The second thing, in terms of this public commentary, Dr. Tembe can perhaps help shed members' insight into why this is important. The previous 2 rounds we had complaints from the public saying there was too short a time to comment on who the committee shortlisted. And they feel they want to be able to say that with regards to person X, this person didn't disclose that this and this was an issue. So in terms of what is on the public comments, when we do the online application, we actually ask each applicant, in the event that you shortlisted, you need to submit a shortened CV, because that CV will go on Parliament's website, but it must be in terms of the Papaya Act, which Herman can explain in a bit. So for 14 days, what the applicant has submitted on their application form in terms of the shortened CV is what the civil society will be able to comment on. And again, after 14 days, by midnight, that process closes. And again, Neliswa or the committee secretary would have an Excel spreadsheet to say, this is the candidate and these are all the comments, and members would receive that. So that is all part and process of how you begin to determine who you are in terms of your interview process. In terms of the criteria, that's very important. That is why the advert, which Neliswa will go through, along with the online application, is formed based on the NYDA Act. And Herman perhaps can elaborate on some of the key things, along with the document Ms. Khanile was referring to. Does NEEM put together key things members need to know around the criteria? So that is why the advert is important, and the online application form. Just to give you one example, this process, only applicants are between the ages of 18 to 35. So if you fill out the application form and you are age 36, automatically we'll be able to pick up and see, but wait a sec, you're 36. But members can say, you know what, make it easier for us. Only if you're 18 to 35, you will be considered. And that is why part of the act and the advert is so important. So the advert is very clear. This is who must apply. And in terms of how organizations can hear of it, once the committee adopts that advert here today, and it goes out, and the moment it goes out into the newspapers, Neliswa can email that advert to members or send it to you on WhatsApp. So then you are able also, as a reference, to say, well, this is the advert, which you can pass on via email or via WhatsApp. So I think just two important things around the public participation. Herman can just give a little bit of insight as to why that was important, and the sort of challenges that we received before that, and the criteria. And then Neliswa, through Chairperson, can just comment around if we're able to shorten it to the 15th of November, would that be possible? Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Before that, the latter, why don't you leave us to the office of the chair for status, so that we don't create a stampede? Remember, I did say that I will, on the basis of the comments that have been made, and on the basis of having to see how many members are not only in one committee, how then do we juggle around? I think that will be very important. Mr. Herman?
Thanks, Chair, and honorable members. Good afternoon. Actually, the time for public participation is constitutionally enshrined, because in terms of Section 59, the public has to be given allowance to participate in any legislative and other processes of Parliament. So normally, the public will comment about perhaps on the suitability of the candidate. Moreover, because there'll be individual and institutional submissions on the candidates, so they are able to scrutinize the other candidates and actually give much more information, which empowers the committee for them to actually inquire during the interviews, because some of the public comments happen before the interviews. If there are issues which are raised concerning a certain candidate, then the committee can then decide to inquire from the candidate or on these issues which are raised during public comment. So I think there should be sufficient time given for that, because in the last exercise, I think we had one exercise which was challenged because they felt that actually it was shorter period for the public participation. So hence, we should make allowance for that so that we avoid unnecessary litigation on that process. So I can pause there on the issue of public participation. Thanks, Chair.
Just before Honorable Kwakan? Okay. Okay, is that the only clarity in terms of the age? Okay. Honorable van der Merwe?
Chair, I just wanted to quickly check. So the 2 weeks in terms of, I know previously we ran ourselves into trouble as Parliament because we don't give, as Kashifa had mentioned, enough time for public inputs or public comments. So the 2 weeks, is that legally sufficient? I mean, we won't have a problem like we did in the 2 previous rounds where people come back and say they didn't have sufficient time. That's my first question. My second question, Chair, I think the idea of leaving the program with you to see if we can shorten the timeframes are important. But I wanted to go back to what Honourable Kanyile had said. You know, on that 2 weeks for preparing an ad and placing it, I wonder if we can just appeal to Parliament, even if they can save us, instead of it being 14 days, it being 10 days, then at least it brings our program a little bit forward. So I really think Parliament can help us here because, you know, we've got translators at Parliament who do translating. So if once we've approved it in English, the translation can happen this week already. So it shouldn't really be taking 14 days. Even if they can just help us by saving us with 4, it can help the process. Thanks, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, can you respond to the, if it happens that I then become 35 in the middle of the term, what happens?
Thanks, Chair. Actually, that one is actually addressed in the amended Act. I think it's an amendment to section, let me check. It's an amendment to section 9(4). It says, actually, if a member he turns, let me read it actually. It says, be allowed to finish their term of office if they turn 35 years whilst in office. So, which means if you turn 35 in office, you'll be allowed to complete your term. But if it happens that you cannot apply at 35, then because by virtue or fortuitously you are appointed, then you turn 36 on the job, then you cannot be allowed. So if the 35 years happens whilst you are still an incumbent, then you'll be allowed to finish that one. Then secondly, on the issue of the 2-week period for public participation, actually what the Constitution says, it says the National Assembly may determine and control its internal arrangement procedures, proceedings and procedures, and make rules and orders concerning its business with due regard to representative and participatory democracy, accountability, transparency, and public involvement. So that is actually entrusted to this committee, but it must be reasonable. So the committee has to determine that which is a reasonable time. So we cannot say we cannot actually prescribe to the committee. It's the committee that will decide on its own that whether it needs 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but it should be a reasonable time. So I can pause there. Thanks, Chair.
No, thank you. So that we are able to move to the, I just want to labor on this because I know it always creates a problem. Public participation. It's clear. Public participation is for comments after short listing. That's the bottom line. After shortlisting, names are going to be tabled, circulated to the citizenry, It is at that time. So public participation is in different forms. So in terms of our board, in terms of the work, it's after we've done shortlisting. Then we comment. Then, I'm saying we, as citizenry, we comment. But before that, we will then allow we'll shortlist, and shortlisting is being done by us. I think after those clarities, which are quite valid, we will we'll then allow Ms. Abrams to then take us through the advert. Oh, the advert. Why don't we? You know why? Because I don't want us to tie Nelisa or tie ourselves on issues that we may find that they are not going to be accepted. Why don't we Honorable Van der Merwe's concern in terms of the time frame of the advert, that we have also got that proposal, so that if then there is a need, there will be a constant communication. And members must be aware that from time to time will be called to special meetings if there is a thing that will need that members must get clarity on. So I think your question that can't the period of advert be shortened to 10 days? I think we've noted that, and we will then have to communicate with the. I think the office of the chair won't leave those things that have got a bearing on our work only to them as committee section staff. I will always have to come in to assist them for that, but I've taken note of that. I don't know whether there's something that you want to add? Okay. Thank you. Can you then take us through, which I think is our last, it's our last point in the agenda.
On the screen, I have the draft advert chair. It reads as follows: invitation for nomination and applications for individuals to serve on the board of the National Youth Development Agency. The Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities invites members of the public to apply, and organizations or individuals to nominate suitable candidates for appointment to serve on the board of the National Youth Development Agency, as mandated by the National Youth Development Agency Amendment Act, which is Amendment Act number 11 of 2024. All applicants, nominees will be required to complete an online application. What we will do in this, we will, after this application has been adopted by the committee, send it to we'll send the online application, which will be presented by the conduct advisor, and then they will then create an online application, an online application form, which members of the public or any organization that wants to nominate will just click on it and then fill in all the information. That one will be available on the parliamentary website. The link to the form will also be available via WhatsApp. That is, if any individual would like, the committee secretary or whoever is going to be responsible would like them to send that link via WhatsApp, it will be done. All applicants and nominees are required to upload certified copies, which is not older than 6 months, of their identity document and academic qualifications. So this, before I move to the second sentence, Chair, this advert, it's saying it's open for individuals, if an individual person would like to apply, or also organization, if any organization would like to nominate their suitable candidate. It's open to everybody, Chair. But that a nominated candidate must fill in the online application form. A list of shortlisted candidates and their resumes will be published on the parliamentary website to allow members of the public to comment on the suitability of the candidates. Disclosure of personal information of candidates is subject to lawful processing and secure storage. All shortlisted candidates will be subject to pre-employment screening by the State Security Agency and the verification of qualification by Parliamentary Human Resources. All application will be in line with Protection of Personal Information Act, which is Act number 4 of 2013, and the Employment Equity Act, which is Act number 55 of 1998. The President will, on recommendation of Parliament, appoint a member to the National Youth Development Agency Board for a term of office not exceeding 3 years. The members of the National Youth Development Agency Board may be appointed as full-time or part-time. Any person whose term of office as a board member of the National Youth Development Agency has expired may be reappointed for one additional term and may not be reappointed for more than 2 terms. As per the National Youth Development Agency Amendment Act, the candidate must be one, South African citizen between the ages of 18 and 35, have relevant knowledge, expertise, experience or qualifications in the youth development, social development, financial field, legal or any other field considered necessary for advancement of the agency mandate. Be allowed to finish their term if they turn 35 years whilst in office, and be committed to advance the vision, mission, goal, objectives, values, and principles as enshrined in the National Youth Policy. Nominations or application must contain full name, address, email address, and contact details of the person or organization making nomination, as well as a signed acceptance of the nomination by nominee, including the nominator. The closing date for application is midnight on 11 November. Inquiries, name of the committee secretary and the contact details is issued by Ms. M. Dunja, chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. Thank you, Chair. Yo.
There is the advert. Any comments? I just want to caution members that you must understand that that advert is within the ambit and the content of the law, and therefore we won't be able to change, not unless it's grammar and date of or closing date, but other things are within the ambit of the law as amended. Honorable Spies, Honorable Van der Merwe, Honorable Kweklan, Honorable Adonis, Honorable Peterson.
Oh, Chairperson, I just wanted to know the following. I just want to go on to this. Just quickly bear with me. Okay. Thank you for the, thank you so much, Neliswa. I think sometimes when you apply for a position, one wants the advert to be in a way or a format that makes the whole application process much easier. And maybe what I'm suggesting are very, it's not issues, it's not semantic so much as it's structural. So I think if we look, and maybe you are going to do it when the final goes out, but I would want to know whether you are putting it and saying in the format of the application requirements. You will say the selection process. You will mention the eligibility criteria. all those things nicely put out so that when one applies, it makes the process easy because we know how cumbersome a online application process at times can be. And maybe just check on those things. It's minor issues, but it's issues that makes the application process for the applicant much easier. You know, and obviously highlighting it, like saying the application deadline, and the term of office, so that it's clear and no one is uncertain or unclear as to what is expected of them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you to our team. I think the ad it looks very good. I like two elements of it. The fact that people can individually apply or be nominated, and the idea of people being able to access information via WhatsApp is great because we know that 90% plus of South Africans have got access to WhatsApp. My only add-on would be when we say all applicants, nominees will be required to complete an online application on the parliamentary website. Can we include the link there by clicking on, because we cannot assume people will find the link on the parliamentary website. So it must just be www.parliament.gov.za/NYDA application, something like that, so that they can just put it in their browsers without having to search for it. Thank you.
Thank you. I will quicken.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Yeah, my question is, what do we do on the question of people who live in the rural areas who don't have an access in these online things? How do we tackle that situation? Because really, we do have people who live in the rural areas and that they might not have these gadgets of ours. How do we treat that situation?
Honorable Adonis.
Thank you, Chairperson. Starting off by appreciating the presentation. I think for me, it would be probably three things. Chair, I would like to find out if the committee would be afforded an opportunity to go through the online application to see its accessibility. Number one, because I think a lot of the challenges that we find with applying for such posts and positions within the disability sector is we find that the system is not inclusive and accessible, and we find that the sector ends up being, you know, sort of excluded from being able to participate and apply. So if the portfolio committee would be given an opportunity or through technical support given an overview on its accessibility on the application process. Number two, I think I also agree with the fellow colleague, honorable member, to say that in terms of making sure that those who are in, you know, rural areas or, you know, who are unable to get enabling technology to assist them with application processes that are online. And I think this is a question that would also come from, or would be answered not only by Parliament but also NYDA. What mitigation plans or strategies are in place to make sure that we are getting these services as far out as possible so that as many young people are able to apply without excluding anyone because of the demographic or, you know, the background and geographical locations. Lastly is that, Chair, I know you did say that at this point there's nothing that we can change on this application form, but I wanted to perhaps find out how do we ensure that NYDA is able to meet a certain criteria in terms of quotas when it comes to equity, and perhaps, Chair, you might be able to advice in this regard, even though we might not be able to make any amendments, to ensure that when we are speaking about youth, we are meeting the entire landscape of young people in South Africa. How will we know that there are young people with disabilities who have applied, there are young women who have applied, if within this application there is no such criteria that will then segregate or make sure that we are able to also identify them to make sure that we're meeting the equity targets as well. Thank you, Chair.
The last one will be Honorable Makaula.
No, Chair. Mina ngibona ukuthi kulabo abasemakhaya yikho kugqugquzela ukuthi kukhishwe kuma-radio nakumaphepha ngoba kunabantu abaningi othola ukuthi abakwazi ukufinyelela. Kuqhutshwa ngendlela lebevele siyenze ukuthi ama-radio wonke kube ne-radio ethize ngaleyo ndlela ukuthi kule ndawo kukhulunywa lakhe bosolezwe bolanga yebo nakuma-radio ukuze kwenzele labantu abasuke besemakhaya ngoba kunenkinga yokuthi if sikhuluma ngalezi zinto ezinye thina sinazo emadolobheni kodwa bona abanazo. Ngiyabonga Chair. Okunye Chair ngifuna ukubuza la. Khona la ke sakhuluma khona ngaba se NCOP. Ngabe sinabo noma bazosijoyina late. Ngiyabonga.
Abona ke lo mbuzo wokugqibela babe ndinesabhokhwe benza kushaya ngesabhokhwe ngoba you were part of the term that amended. It's no more both houses now, it's only us in terms of NA. Secondly, Honorable Khokan, you have got a constituents office. No, you have got a constituents area. My constituency is peri-urban farming. It is, among other things, my responsibility, Ukuti, as much as they're going to be on radio in all languages, but it's also my responsibility to ensure that the advert is put at the door. I'm making an example of a clinic, ShopRite, wherever, so that whoever is there, now it's our baby also. So let's not take ourselves out of this process because we are to ensure that everybody is. So to assist Parliament, to assist whoever, and also to assist your constituents. Wako, tonight's advert is out. And then all of us have got that responsibility. But a consent is a valid consent because at times, young people that are in rural areas are being disadvantaged, neglected or forgotten. But we are their mouthpiece here by virtue of being members of Parliament, by virtue of having constituents areas. For instance, I'll make an example. Though my constituency is in one region in the Eastern Cape, but the entire Eastern Cape is my constituency because that's where I'm coming from. That's where I have been nominated and elected to be a public representative. Cape Town is my constituency by virtue of being a South African public representative. So ourselves also, we must not divorce ourselves from this. We are to ensure that we have that. I think I've taken the point. Maybe they will respond to this, that the advert reflects that persons with disabilities, blah, 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 be in the advert. But that will also be when we are then shortlisting. Those are the things that we are to be looking at. But I take your point that the advert must also reflect on that so that nobody is left behind. I don't know whether is there anything that you want to add? So we're comfortable closing date 11th of November, period, okay? Or do you want it tomorrow? It can be tomorrow. 11th of November is fine. Which month is this? September, October? So 11th of November, I think it's fair. Ms. Abrams, anything else? Nothing else?
Thank you, Chairperson. Once I take members through the application form, we have a specific request for the applicant to indicate whether the person has a disability or not. So when you get the final list of applicants, you'll be able to see who has a disability and who not. And again, disclosure, it's up to the applicant to disclose. So we request the information, but if the person chooses not to disclose, it's their prerogative. But we do request it in the application form. In terms of an opportunity to go through the application form online, ICT just emailed me the link now, so I can take members through, if that's fine with Chairperson. But let me take members through, with Chairperson's fine, the paper version of what the application form looks like. Because online, it would just be particular categories that come up and you have got to type out the information. If that's fine, Chair.
No, Chair, it depends on them. But it's important that they see it now so that I'm not inundated with questions that application, why is it like this? It's correct to say can we have a look at it? And please don't forget the concern that was raised by Honorable Van der Merwe, the www so that people don't pick up. If you do have that, just flout it so that we are able to see it. On a lighter note, Honorable Adonis.
Chair, if we are going to go through the online, may I humbly request that the link be sent to me because I will not be able to follow with the visuals.
No, it's fine. They're aware. They will. One thing, they will send it to you. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Van der Merwe.
Sorry, Chair, I just wanted to say, remember, we asked whether Parliament could prepare the ad a little bit faster than 2 weeks. Then, of course, if we're getting it into the paper sooner, then that 11 November will come forward. Because remember, we are working now on the basis of the ad only being published on the 12th of October, which is, yeah. But if we save a few days, then the month will come forward. Just to note that. Then it won't be 11 November, then possibly it could be 5 days before.
Okay, no, thank you. Have you managed to have they sent it?
Thank you, Chairperson. So, just the first page, Neliswa. So the first page of the application form again indicates what the form is about. Again, to reiterate, it's in line with the National Youth Development Agency Amendment Act number 11 of 2024, and it's to assist the Portfolio Committee in its process. All those who have applied or have been nominated for appointment as a board member of the NYDA. Neliswa, could you just move further down, please? No, further up. We just need to read the first. Yeah. Yeah. So what we will do is, the advert and the application form goes hand in hand. So once we finalize when that closing date is, the closing date on the application form would be the same as in the advert. So as Ms. Van der Merwe indicated, if we can ensure that the advert is put out earlier, the closing date would be earlier, and the application form closing date would also be earlier. So the moment somebody looks at the application form, they're very clear when that closing date is. In terms of information that would be required, the application form is technically just a form in which we organize the person's CV. So everything they would put in their CV is what based on the criteria and the act and what we feel members would require in terms of understanding who would be the best candidate that you would put forward for recommendation to the President. In terms of required, it's the surname, full name, date of birth, and again here to make it easier, we would have that criteria of 18 to 35. So just to reiterate, I mean, Herman can comment on this. So if I'm 34 and I apply now, as in the advert comes out in October the 21st, but I'm still 34, I'm only going to turn 35 in January. technically I can apply. Because if I'm recommended and appointed by the president, as the Act says, I would have to finish my term, and the term is 3 years, I would have to finish my term. But I cannot apply now when I am 35 and my birthday in January and I turn 36, because the Act is very clear. So that's the issue around the 18 to 35. So in other words, if I'm 34 and my birthday only happens months down the line when I turn 35, I can still apply. But if I'm 35 now and tomorrow I turn 36, then technically I don't fit into that, because the Act says I have to be between 18 to 35. In terms of ID, updated certified copy, not older than 6 months. So on this part of the form, the person, whether they're on their computer or laptop, can just upload their ID. If you have a phone and you press on the link and you fill out all of this information, when you come to this section and it says, please upload a copy of your ID, you can take a picture of your ID on your phone and go to your pictures and add picture, and you can upload a picture of your ID. Contact number, email address. In terms of gender, because we are all inclusive, we've included male, female, non-binary, other, and then indicate in terms of preferred pronoun, he, she, they, other. Why is this important? In the event that when members look at your criteria for and shortlisting, and you shortlist, you understand how that particular candidate would like to be addressed, because they've indicated that from the onset in the application form. Don't call me Miss or don't call me Mr., call me whatever they indicate what their pronoun is. Race, again, there are various options for you to indicate, and then with disability, there's an option to indicate yes or no. So in terms of the personal information, right from the onset, you have a holistic understanding of where the person comes from, their race, their gender, and disability as well. Now, so if we could move down. In terms of education, we require, please furnish particulars of your formal education, certified high school, certificate, diploma, degree, not older than 6 months in chronological order. In other words, you can have a copy of your matric certificate, a university degree, a diploma, but it must be certified, and it must have been certified within 6 months. And again, whether you have a laptop, a computer, or your phone, when it says upload a certified copy, you can upload the document, or you can take a picture using your phone and then just add the picture. In terms of work experience, the first question is, what is your current employment status? Self-employed, employed, unemployed, or student? And again, in terms of education, when you get that final list, you have a clear understanding of who this applicant is, whether they a student, and that's why you don't have any work experience, or whether you're self-employed or unemployed. And then in terms of employment of work, we've opted for up to 10 jobs. So in other words, the person would indicate the first position, who the employer was, their start date and the end date. And then we've also requested, please provide details of any other work, advocacy, or academic experience related to youth development that you may feel be relevant. For example, if the person is a student and is part of a student movement at the university, at Technicon, and involved in youth development, it doesn't fall under work experience, but they definitely have that experience, and that's where an opportunity is for the applicant to explain and write out that. In section 4, the motivation, please explain why you believe you should be considered to serve as a board member for the National Youth Development Agency, how you will contribute to the effective functioning of the NYDA board. This section and this question, again, it's for the benefit of members. It puts the applicant an opportunity to indicate to members what is it that they know about the NYDA, how they feel they can contribute, and also talk about their experience. And this you'll be able to get once we said the application date closes, and all the information will be in one space. Section 6, Section 6, we've looked particularly at the NYDA Act, and Herman is here to clarify any particular questions members may have. 16 question, do you have any experience as a board member, yes or no? In the event the person does have, they're able to indicate what type of experience they had and which board they can write that out. Question 17, are there circumstances, financial or otherwise known to you, which may cast doubt on your fitness to hold office as a board member, yes or no? And again, please provide details if you say yes. Again, it's up to the applicant to disclose to members, bearing in mind what Chairperson had said, State Security Agency will do a check. So if you don't disclose and State Security finds out, they will share with members what the outcomes are, if there are any financial matters. In terms of number 18, have you been convicted of any offence involving dishonesty, violence, or any other disreputable or dishonourable conduct? In the NYDA Amendment Act, the previous committee was very strong, given the scourge of the second pandemic around gender-based violence. They thought it pertinent, whoever becomes a board member, in no way can you have had a record in relation to GBV. So again, there's an opportunity here for whoever applies to disclose if there's been anything. They can say yes or no, and if they say yes, they can disclose why, and they can determine and write out how much of the information they want to let members know. Number 19, has any professional body ever found you guilty of unprofessional or disgraceful misconduct? Again, yes or no. Given that as a board member, they'd be involved in fiduciary duties. Fiduciary duties include financial matters, HR, legal, but to mention a few. So their role is particularly important. So if in the past they have been in a situation where that was problematic, the committee needs to understand and know why. Number 20, have you ever faced an internal investigation, a disciplinary inquiry or dismissal from any place of employment, educational institution or litigation against your employer? Please take account of your current and previous places of employment, educational establishment when answering yes or no. And because we're looking at 18 to 35, we would understand not all applicants would be working. There would be students that would apply. So in the event that there was any matter at a university, again, that applicant has an opportunity to disclose. 21, are there any other relevant matters which concern your honesty, integrity, and reliability, which you should bring to the attention of the committee? And again, it's just upfront requesting the applicant, here's an opportunity for you to disclose, to indicate to the committee, bearing in mind, as we said, State Security would do a check, and then from HR Parliament side, they would verify all the academic qualifications. Number 22, nomination, kindly indicate if you nominated yourself, or in the event that you were nominated, you must upload the nomination letter. Then section 6, in terms of the summary of your resume, it clearly states, in the event that a candidate is shortlisted, a summary of your resume, which is about 1 to 2 pages, will be posted on Parliament's website for public commentary. Kindly provide a succinct overview of yourself, a summary of your resume, in keeping with the provisions outlined in the Protection of Personal Information Act, which is POPI Act number 4 of 2013. The summary will only be published for a limited period once a candidate has been shortlisted. Disclosure of personal information of candidates is subjected to lawfully processing and secure storage. All applicants will be in line, or applications will be in line with the Protection of Personal Information Act number 4 of 2013. So the summary should reflect the following: name, age, education, overview of employment, and experience in any youth development deemed relevant. So in other words, in that resume, we're asking applicants, please don't disclose, as in with your POPI Act, you can't put your ID number in there. You can't put your cell phone number in there. You can't put your personal home address in that summary. Because if you're going to be shortlisted, that summary is going to go on Parliament's website. So again, the reason we've gone this route is so that there's no challenges from our side saying that Parliament has decided what they want the public to know. We leave it up to the applicant. If the applicant feels they want to give a comprehensive 2 pages of exactly what they've done, by all means. If they choose they only want to write a page, it's their choice. But the summary, in the event that you shortlisted, is written by the applicant themselves, not us. And then section 7, the declaration, this is the last one. Number 24, I hereby declare the information provided is true and correct. Neliswa, if you could move down, please. I also understand that any willful dishonesty or non-submission of required documents may render for disqualification of this application. If this application is successful, I authorize Parliament of South Africa to keep this information in my personal file. Otherwise, all information will be destroyed within 3 months of the date of application. I authorize Parliament of South Africa to disclose in a confidential manner any information supplied in this application to the relevant parties, namely the Human Resource Management and the State Security Agency, for verification of qualifications and screening in the event that I am shortlisted. I also understand that in the event I am shortlisted, a summary of my resume as outlined in section 6 of this application will be open for public commentary for a limited period. I agree that the information provided was submitted by myself and all responses are a true reflection of my employment and personal history, and that Parliament would not be held liable for incorrect information provided by the applicant, either by willful act or negligence. And then you indicate yes or no and submit. The reason we have the disclosure at the end is to indicate to the applicant whatever information you give is based on what you deem is truthful and honest. And that's what the committee will take in, because you, the applicant, who have agreed to it. And again, like we've indicated, State Security Agency would verify information, parliamentary human resources, and also once you're shortlisted and your resume goes out, the public will comment. So Chairperson, before I go on to the actual web link, I'll maybe hand over to Chair if there are any other particular questions or clarity seeking that members want now.
Thank you. I think it's straightforward. It's all the concerns that have been raised have then been outlined in that invite. Then we, Honorable Kanyile. But just to remind members that that advert is within the, should I say, constraints or content of what is in the law. But it's fine.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the presentation that is before us. I think my first question will be on the last point on the declaration number 24, where it indicates signature. If the application is going to be done online, I'd like to inquire how the applicants or the organizations nominating their candidates are going to be able to sign. The second question that I have, it is on number, it is section 1 that speaks to persons with disabilities. I wanted to find out if it's possible to indicate that if they choose yes, maybe can they provide details. I think this will assist us to make necessary arrangements for their various needs. For an example, if we're going to have somebody that uses sign language, we're going to be able to make sure that we make those arrangements prior to have a sign language interpreter in Parliament. And Chairperson, for the next question, I apologize for taking you a little bit backwards. In the form that was done, I actually thought this was going to be picked up by my colleagues. I'm happy that the issue of the link was covered. I've noted it here. However, I felt that the question of the WhatsApp number, where applicants may send a message to indicate that they're requesting the link, it is left out. I would like to request that when this is finalized, maybe the WhatsApp number be added next to the link as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Abrams, the signature and the closure of the disability.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Ms. Khanile. I think with the signature, it's up to me. Because it's online, technically once you submit, you don't need a signature because you've agreed to it. So we can remove signature. In terms of the disability, as we had with some previous questions, what we could do, if yes, kindly provide details. Yeah, so that, so we'll allow for person to type in.
Honorable Van der Merwe.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think I would support the notion that we remove signature because you might then, if you leave it there, you might create a problem where people would try to, insert an electronic signature and then they're unable to do so and then they abandon the whole process. So let's just rather remove it, not to cause any problems with the applications.
Okay. No, thank you very much, honorable members. I think we're done.
I can take them through the online.
You are then going to be taken through the online. Is it fine? On a lighter note, I said when we were coming here, the meeting was set to be 12 to 1. And somebody, I don't know, I'm not going to say who, asked me what time are we going to finish. I said the only thing that I know I can respond to is the time of the starting. When it's going to be finished depends on the discussions in the meeting. Is there okay. This is the last part. Oh, I've got it.
Thank you, Chairperson. What I'll do is I'll go through the first page because exactly what's on the application form I read out you'd find exactly on the online application. So once you press on the link, it opens up to this page. There would be a request for a Gmail account entry, but I'll just verify with ICT. If you don't have a Gmail account, can you still access the link? So in other words, the request in terms of WhatsApp, a member may say, I've got someone who wants to fill out the form, can you send me the link? Then the committee secretary can forward on the committee group that link and you can forward it to whoever else. So once you press on the link, this is what comes up. So just to indicate out what Chris, Tasneem, Neliswa and myself usually do is we do a test run. So before that advert goes out, we go through this add in, upload test documents just to see whether it's working and that there are no spelling mistakes. So where there's an asterisk, in other words, I can't go on to the next thing until I filled out what is required. So there's my name, surname, date of birth, and that's the drop-down menu. So in my case, I'll say 3rd of, that's September, and then here you can see these options to indicate years. So, for example, I'm born in 1975, and here we can get guidance from members. So, 1975, this year I'm 49. So, technically, if I apply here, I shouldn't be able to go on because I have to be under 35. So, what we can ask ICT is to take the last year for when people would be 35. And the math with that, Tasneem, is... So, yeah, we can do that. So it just makes it easier. So in other words, me, Kashfa, was born 8 June 1975. Even if I put in 1975 here, it won't let me carry on. But I'll make it easier and just put in 1990. But that's one thing we can do to assist the process to eliminate people who don't qualify. So me, the 49-year-old, will not be able to apply. So I'm just putting in the year. There we go. That's a requirement. ID number, again, this is where things need to correlate. I can't put in my ID number, which starts 750608, because it doesn't correlate, because you need to be in the year that says the under 35. So again, that's a requirement. And then in terms of add file, just to indicate to members, so add file, once you press on that, you would go to either from your phone and pick up a picture. I'll just do a random just to show members the process. And can you see, I've just added what is required in terms of my ID document. That can be either a picture or an actual document. Then residential address again, I would need to say where, province, gives you a drop-down menu, so you don't have to type it up, you put in Western Cape. Again, contact information, why that is important, because in the event that you are shortlisted, the committee secretary would need to call you to find out, are you available to be interviewed on this day, and so on. And then next is email address. Again, that's important, because Nelisa would need to verify in the event that you're shortlisted, are you available, when are you coming, and so forth and so on. In terms of gender, we've said you have to tick male, female, non-binary or other. Preferred pronoun, again, to indicate one. Race. And then with disability, what we would do is, yes, and in the event that you say yes, as requested and agreed to now by members, say in the event you say yes, kindly provide more details. So only once all this information comes on are you able to go to the next screen, which is education. And here for qualification 1, you'd say matric certificate, qualification 2, and so on and so forth, and then add your relevant documents. But the moment you add in matric, but you don't upload your matric certificate or a document, it won't allow you to go and fill in the next information. So that's how we safeguard the committee to ensure that whoever submits automatically puts in everything that you require. You want the ID, you want the qualification, it must be loaded onto the site. But like I've indicated to members, between Crystal, Tasneem, Neliswa and myself, we do a test run. ICT has just sent this to us today. So we will go through this, check that there are no spelling errors, that we're able to upload documents with ease, and then adjust in terms of anything in addition, like take out the issue of the signature, and then add in additional information in terms of disability. So that is just a snapshot of how the link and the online application form works. Thank you, Chairperson.
No, thank you very much. And it's something that we have gone through. I mean, how to apply online in a number of things, in a number of ways. But what is important, is this thing of age, ID, contact number, email address, your certificates, everything chronologically. And then, yeah, and if you say yes, you must then to say that I am visually impaired, I make an example, or I am on a wheelchair, or whatever, so that Parliament is able to then prepare. I think members, we Yes,
Because I saw-
you are raising without being identified. Honorable Shabangu.
My apologies, Shais. I realized that you are proceeding to the next one. It's just a small thing. As she was presenting that form, why does it allow you to continue with the incorrect information? Is it just because you are showing us? Because I'm worried that if a applicant is filling in and then you miss the @Gmail, then it allows you to continue that you might have wrong information. Or it's something that we are just showing us it will be worked on. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Adonis.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I emphasize on the element of making sure that it is accessible, and I do appreciate the presentation. I would like to find out, when we are going through the testing phase of the online process, are we going to also test this on various assistive devices? As I've indicated, a lot of the application processes or forms that are done online are usually not tested in terms of compatibility for accessibility. And we find that this will then disadvantage most of the people within the disability sector. So perhaps I can get clarity, when we are testing the online application, how are we going to make sure that it is accessible for all the different devices or softwares that will be used by the disability sector? Myself, being someone who uses JAWS and VoiceOver, TalkBack, will we be able to test this to make sure that all the grammars are captured correctly and are well articulated when it is being translated or transcribed through my assistive devices? Thank you, Chair.
Can I, the latter, can we leave that to IT? Because I don't want us to be pondering on something that we are not, some of us don't have a, what is this term? No, Honorable Adonis, please allow me to finish. I'm not yet done. They are testing. They are doing that through IT. I think they have heard what you are saying. Not unless you are implying that now we must then check everybody who's visually impaired, which is impossible. That is why it means everything now will have to be on a standstill, because IT will have to do ABCD. We will be advised by Parliament how they are then, what is it? Honorable Van der Merwe, you are here in the last term. How do then they assist persons, in particular, those that are visually impaired? Because if then we want to get an answer now, and we are to come back and check if that is going to happen, I would imagine it then means we are really going to be a bit late. But IT will assist us, but they will also advise us now how then are we to move forward. So that's why the question that says, let's those that are of ITC and whatever, we will then have to then, and then there will then be a communication on how this will then be done. I don't think that that response really will be an unfair response. Before I finish, your hand was up, so I don't know whether you were disagreeing or you were. Before I finished talking, your hand was up. But a comment that is going to assist the process to move forward.
Yes, Chair. Chair, I think perhaps without sort of disagreeing with what you're saying, it's important for us to have these discussions. I mean, everyone has been given an opportunity for us to make sure that we mitigate any future challenges that we might face as a committee, where we might be accused of excluding any sector that we're meant to be representing. And therefore, for me to raise this is to ensure that we are safeguarding the committee and the process of appointing a new board without us being found wanting to say that perhaps it was an oversight. So I think it should not be minimized minimized, because at this point it feels as though it has been sort of minimized to say that let's see what then happens because it might delay us. It's important to make sure that the most vulnerable are included in these processes, and we should not say because of time constraints, therefore we might oversee it, or will be advised if it might delay us, then we will overlook it. So I think it's important to make sure that in these processes, accessibility is priority. We are now 30 years into democracy. It cannot be that we are finding anyone left behind, and it is the responsibility of this portfolio committee to make sure that every single young person in South Africa is included in this process, and it's our responsibility to make sure that even our constituencies, being disabled women, it doesn't matter which demographic background they're from, as long as they are young, they are included in this process. And therefore, I think, Chairperson, from my side, I cannot accept that it's going to delay us, because we have been presented to say that they are going to be testing the online portal. Perhaps what can be said is that this will then be considered when they are testing it, and they will test it on this particular program, or IT will then give us feedback to say how have they tested and they have seen that it is compatible, so that we are able to then advise the constituency within the sector that the online process is accessible. Thank you, Chair.
If the word delay irritated you, and I'm honest about it, if it irritated you, my apologies. But I'm still saying IT will then advise, maybe it's the English, IT will advise how to move forward on issues that you have raised. Secondly, we can never be here. I can never be seated on this chair, be coming across as a person who is insensitive of persons with disability. I have got a sister that is living with a person with disability. So please, I'm trying all my level best to accommodate all of us. So please, I honestly, Honorable Adonis, it must not, because I don't want us, when we go out of this room, or as we are watched, the chair of this committee is then perceived as somebody who is rushing, who is not going to make everybody to be accessible. Everybody will be accessible, but there are areas where we don't have expertise of them, and those are IT. It is the responsibility of Parliament to ensure that those things are being addressed. I said initially, up to now, we don't have Braille in this Parliament, and it's something that has always been said. Unfortunately, I can't respond, but they are here. They heard what you are raising in terms of how then people are then going to be, and then we'll be advised accordingly. What is it that we are to do? So, yeah, I think that is that, and it is in that context that I made it a point. I'll say I made it a point that we are all here physical, so that when we raise these issues, we raise these issues with an understanding. Now it is the start of the game. It is not going to be easy. It is going to be a rocky road in moving forward, but it's going to need, it's an emotive issue. It's going to need us to manage our emotions, our excitement, our interest, our preference. Sonke la, sine preferences, and it, all of us, we do. But what is important is that we are not here, as I've said initially when we open, we are here for everybody who's working here. Cape Town is also our constituency. How do we ensure, I'll make an example, that even when we leave, we say to Nelisa, even in the windows of this, in the entrances of this Parliament, this advert must be out, must be hung there, so that people see that, oh, the process has started. Otherwise, I'm worried that there's no lunch. Oh, your hand was up, Honorable Chair. Well, and you are the last one.
Okay, Chairperson, thank
Okay.
you. Thank you very much.
What I wanted to find out or follow up on, let me speak for myself, but however, I do know that we have colleagues that are coming from rural constituencies. There is a question that was raised by Uma Kaula through you, Chairperson. I am asking it from the content advisor. She asked if it's possible to have this advert going out on various radio stations so that we can ensure that it reaches to the Dup rural constituencies. And Chairperson, once again, through you, I have raised actually the issue of the Braille. I think it was one of my first questions. Through you, I'll appreciate it if the content advisor can be able to indicate if this process can be translated to other platforms as well, if that is doable within that, I think is it 14 days to 10 days that we have requested, that when the translation is done, do you think it's possible to, can be able to accommodate for these translations as well? Thank you very much.
Honorable Gasa.
Thank you so much, Chair. Just out of curiosity, nje, one is coming from rural areas, so these things are touching us. Like, for instance, I want to check in terms of qualifications for the youth that does not have in possession of their qualifications due maybe to outstanding fees, owing NSFAS and whatnot, if it will be possible to take their letter of completion from universities instead of a qualification, because I know a number of youth that does not have their qualifications with them. Thank you.
I don't know whether you, okay, answer that now, because I would have thought that as we do the shortlisting and whatever, but I think the question is valid in particular to those that may not, so that they are not discouraged. I think that's the proper word. They are not discouraged because they have not paid NSFAS, and therefore they can't get their academic qualifications. Is it possible to? And Mr. Hammond, just assist so that.
Thank you, honourable members. Just to start off with the last issue of qualifications, I think in the last round, there were applicants who sent through like the record of their tests. So we could see in their transcripts. And then they also submitted a letter to say they couldn't graduate because of outstanding, but they were upfront and disclosed. So even if they just have the transcripts of, because bearing in mind, not everyone would have graduated. You can be 21 and still in your third year. So the last academic record would be your exam results from the previous year. So therefore we say in terms of academic qualifications, it's knowing that they are students who are still studying, they would submit whatever they have. But I think, Herman, I'm correct in that regard, in terms of we don't exclude on the basis of fees not being sorted, provided that the qualifications were, and it's certified, and the applicant was open and honest and indicated this is where I'm at. That's the first thing. In terms of Braille, Ms. Khanile, that's a cost implication.
Sorry, not only Braille, I think advert in all languages.
In all languages.
Oh, you have accepted that mostly. No, I'm saying it's not only Braille, but it's also advert in all radio and community radio stations, yeah.
So for Braille, that's an additional cost. We'll have to check through SEM and communications. In terms of the advert, again, on radio, that's also a cost implication. We'll have to check in terms of supply chain. Technically, myself and Lisa, we don't deal with the funding side of that, but we'll definitely do an inquiry around radio adverts, as well as the issue of Braille. In terms of what Ms. Shabangu, you asked, what if somebody adds, what I did earlier on was just a test. Or the actual application form, for example, the ID number has X amount of numbers. So the moment I put one number short, we'll make sure that ICT can pick that up. That means you won't be able to go on to the next thing. So it forces the applicant to give the correct information right through the entire process. I think I've covered everything. Maybe Herman could just answer the matter around the NSFAS. Thank you, Chair.
Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Chair and honorable members. But on the issue of NSFAS, it's not necessarily that actually it's the academic qualification which is a self-standing issue. There's also experience. So it has to be in tandem. So we cannot say we disqualify you because academically you are not qualified. But if you've got the experience, so perhaps NYDA, we can say it's a board, but it nurtures the interest of the youth. So we should not actually pay much attention to the issue of that there is no qualification. If the person can actually assert or there is verification that actually he did actually go to this institution, these are the issues, they are outstanding issues. So that confirms the averment of that person. So for me, I think that will be enough sufficient for the committee to consider.
No, I think, yeah, I think that is and thank you for that question, because we would have, and then when we are at that stage, now we are, which is the last hand?
Ngibonge Chair. Uyabona nje mhlawumbe bazokhumbula ozakwethu. Besilekelela kakhulu amaredo kubantu basemakhaya. Lakho bokhwezi, boZulu omzansi, inkwenkwezi, kuyaziwa la sisho ukuthi nanka amakhaya asaziwa ukuthi bayisebenzisa kakhulu bombokodo. Ukuthi bengafanele nisiphinde sisebenze leyo criteria na. Ngibuye Nkosi yami ngithi ukulapha ku honorable Chawuk. Ngibonga uChema yesho lana sonke nathi sinazo lezi ngane disabled noma abantu abasondele nathi. Senza show kule portfolio committee ukuthi labo bantu aba disabled ngoba i-disabled inabantu abaningi ngangosise sacicizelela nokufaka nalaba banhlophe esigubo laba abayibetha ama-albino. Senza shokle la baba ma-face priorities as long yena sisho siyabafaka ngembobo yenalithi kodwa as long ekwazile ukufika nento zakhe eziphelele waphendula imibuzo. Senza sure ngoba siyazwelana nawo bisikhathi esiningi bebevele kakade bebukeleka phansi. Ngiyacela Nkosazana yami siyazama ukuthi yikho phela ukuthi kusuke ikhala zincane. Yingakho kodwa mangabe kufika kuvela lama position anje especially kuyiboard senza sure siyabafuna babekhona kuze nabo bangaziboni bengabona abantu sizwelana kakhulu nabo and ngangokuthi senza sure siyavumelana futhi la kusiyikommittee no sivumelana labantu babe yi-first priority and kuyenzeke lo ngahlala leli committee kuyenzekela. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you, honorable members. We are, you know, I really underestimated this time. I thought it would be an hour. Now it's 20 to 3. I'll be forced to leave tomorrow morning, unfortunately. I think I want to labor on this. It is not going to be an easy road. Honorable Fanamerve, Honorable Chau, Honorable Makaula, they know. I know it's because I was not part of, but as long as we're not going to, it's not going to go twice to plenary. because that's what transpired on some of the things that were then had to be looked into. So I think we have coming physically and being able to interact and have an understanding of the process that we are engaged on. And I was just seated last night, I said, oh my God, it's only 7 members that we're talking about. And how many young people outside here? Only 7 members in that board that we are good. But it needs us to be cool, to be calm, to understand that we've got that responsibility and ensure on some of the areas that we want. But don't forget that we also have got that responsibility of putting the advert in the doors of our constituents' offices, in shops. I'm making an example, those who are, even in our churches, for that matter. You heard that they had 8,000 applicants. I'm just wondering how much applicants we are going to have this year around. Having said that, enjoy your constituents' work. It's not easy. If we'll be caught, please don't forget, go to Nelisa, tell Nelisa which other committees you are members of, so that when we sit down and look into how then do we try and shorten the days, how then do we make it? Otherwise, it is a marathon, which is going to need our concentration. Until we meet again, please go to Nelisa. I don't want to, I'm done. Is there something?